one of the things that was so fascinating with talking with Dr. Olivia and working with her is that the concept of perinatal, is it perinatal?
Yeah,
Perinatal
yes.
therapy, because everyone talks about postpartum therapy. Everyone talks about postpartum depression, but nobody really truly talks about what happens beforehand.
Yes.
And how your hormones can change, and how, therapy and mental health is just as important pre as it is post.
Yes, very much.
And it's been, I think, fundamental in a lot of the work that you have done.
Yes.
I wish I would have had that, especially
Me too.
just to have just the concepts. Everyone talks about, the prenatal vitamins you have to take and all the things, but no one talks about your mental health.
Right.
Hi, welcome to Say More Words, a podcast that was created to emphasize the human experience through stories. I hope that you come here to learn, to expand, and most importantly, learn how to say more words. Speak your story, speak your truth, boo-boo. We're so happy you're here.
All right.
Yay.
Welcome back to Say More Words, everybody. I'm super excited that you are here. I'm super excited to introduce you to my friend, Dr. Olivia. Actually, I just realized, I think I say your last name wrong. Is it Wedel?
Wedel.
Wedel.
Anyways, fine. Yeah.
Olivia Wedel. My friend, Dr. Olivia Wedel. Before we introduce her, though, Dr. Olivia, what's our song of the day?
Song of the day is kicking it back a few years. Whitney Houston, Step by Step.
Yeah.
From The Preacher's Wife.
Yes.
The most underrated Christmas movie ever.
Of all time.
Yes.
I
Step
love
by Step.
that.
Yes.
It's so good.
Yes.
I was just watching a TikTok recently. It was like songs that you can get everybody to sing.
Yes.
And of course, a couple of Whitney Houston. But then one came up. It was Celine Dion's, gosh, what was it? And it's like the same time that song came out. And I was like,
yes. Like 1995 or 96.
Yes.
I think. Yeah. So not old for us.
No.
But old school,
but
I guess.
yeah, soulful and wonderful.
Yes.
Just light you. Okay, I'm going to have to listen to that. I'm so excited. So I'm super excited to introduce you to Dr. Olivia, because Dr. Olivia is one of those people I call as like a manifestation. She's one of those, like, she's an answered prayer of mine. It was 2022, I think, when we met. And I was in this space. If you've ever owned a business, you get into this space of like, am I doing everything right? Am I doing everything wrong? Are people finding me? What's going on? Like, what's happening in this space? And you just start to doubt yourself on a couple of different things, especially in the realm that I'm in. And I was in this space. I will never forget. I was in my office, like just not far from where we are now. I had just a little office suite. And I remember praying and saying, God, if I'm stepping into counseling and I'm not supposed to be, or if I'm like out of my jurisdiction, kind of, I'm like, I need you to make it abundantly clear that I'm not. And I also, like, I need just that sign that I'm not just preaching to the same people, or that like there's just, it was just, I needed this affirmation that I needed to keep going, basically.
Yes.
And then about a month later, we had Evolve. And Olivia had signed up as a ticket, and I did not know her. I did not know her from Adam.
No.
I didn't know the name. I mean, I looked her up, but I couldn't figure out like how she found me.
Yes.
And she walked in the room, and it was love at first sight, I think, for everybody, because Olivia, y'all learn in this time together. She's just, I call him the warm blanket of a human. You're just so kind and caring, and when you're in the room, it's great. And you needed to be in the room too.
I did need to be in the room. Yes.
But
definitely.
then Olivia, after that conference, started working with me as a one-on-one client. And would you believe, one, she gave me the faith of like, I need to keep going because there's people listening to me who I have not yet met.
Yes.
And she's a counselor.
Yes.
She is a therapist.
You can look me up. I am a licensed counselor.
Yeah. And so it was a package deal of like God being like, yes, keep going. Yes, people are listening, and no, you're not, because we have actually had the opportunity to, unknowingly help the same people, or to talk to the same people. And we've gotten to speak at the same groups, and we are a great we're a great team
I
in
think
healing.
so.
I
Yeah,
think so.
definitely in healing.
We do
Yes.
two very different things, and it was just
Mhm.
the affirmation.
Yeah.
So she's just, one of those quick manifestations of a
Thank you.
human, and I love that I get to have and share the space with you.
Yes.
So Dr. Olivia is a licensed counselor and
Mhm.
therapist, but
Yes.
will you tell everybody about
Absolutely.
yourself?
I will. Oh, about myself.
Yeah.
When you said that, how when I walked in the room and all of that, my son told me this morning I'm like his squishmallow. So I'm
Oh.
like, well, that is a compliment from a 4-year-old, despite how I feel about it. A squishmallow, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
But yes, I am a licensed professional counselor supervisor in Texas. I'm also a national certified counselor, and then I have a certification in perinatal mental health, which is really going back to how I found Tamika and decided to go to Evolve and really, really specialize, because I've been in the field for, gosh, almost 18 years, but specializing in the postpartum stuff was brand new for me. And when I met Tamika, just so many things fell into place, and we'll probably talk about it. But I love working with moms, helping them feel hopeful again with a renewed sense of purpose and joy, which I learned is entirely possible as a result of working with Tamika. You can feel joy in the midst of really hard things. So I do that. I'm also, as I mentioned, my son, I'm a mom. I have a 4-year-old. He was born literally the onset of COVID, the week that things shut down in Texas, and we shut down a little later
Yeah.
than everybody else.
Yeah.
But end of March, he was born, and nothing has been the same. Nothing has been the same since, and it's been a really good learning experience overall, and then a trial by fire in other ways. And I'm trying to use that to help other people. And then, as if I didn't have enough going on, I'm actually a full-time counselor educator, and I teach in a clinical mental health counseling program and do the director position for their clinical mental health internship. So full-time remote. It's based in North Dakota. So yay
Well-
for getting out of Texas some in the summer.
Yeah, right. Where it's
Yes.
nice and cool and wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that was so fascinating with talking with Dr. Olivia and working with her is that the concept
Mm-hmm.
of perinatal, is it perinatal?
Yeah.
Perinatal
Mm-hmm. Yes.
therapy, because everyone talks about postpartum therapy. Everyone talks
Mhm.
about postpartum depression, but nobody
Mhm.
really truly talks about
Yes.
what happens beforehand
Yes.
and how your hormones can change, and how therapy and mental health is just as important
Mhm.
pre as it is post.
Yes. Very much.
And
Mhm.
it's been, I think, fundamental in a
Mhm.
lot of the work that you have done. I
Yes.
wish I would have had that,
Me
especially
too.
just to have just the concept.
Mhm.
Everyone talks about the prenatal vitamins you have to take and
Mhm.
all of the things, but no one talks about your mental health.
Right. Right. That's why I have these little brains that I give out at events and stuff. It has my logo on it. And the reason it's a brain is because I'm like, the brain is the least talked about part of the perinatal experience.
Oh,
I think we're doing better. Like, we know our pelvic floors are so important, like the chiropractic adjustments.
Yeah.
You might need to take, some magnesium or some different things,
Yeah.
but we're not really, the brain has really been left out of the conversation
yes.
about how we heal after we have kids. Mm-hmm.
Which it's one of the most important parts.
It is.
Like, I will never forget walking in, because I had a C-section, so my
Mhm.
postpartum appointment was a lot sooner than most,
Yes.
or the first one, the post-surgery appointment.
Mhm.
And I walked in, and my doctor goes, "Ugh."
Oh, no.
She was really
no.
like, we were really
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
She's
So she could
she's
get away
she
with
could
it.
get away with it. She's German. She's like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
what is wrong?" And I was like, "Nothing. I'm fine." And she goes, "Okay." And basically wrote up a script as fast as she
Yes.
possibly could.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because back then they still wrote them for
Right.
us.
It's
They
yes.
still
Yeah.
wrote,
It's different.
and she she goes, "You have postpartum depression. Like, you can cut it through with a knife."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And she goes, "Take this. This will make you feel better." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay." But not once did she say, "Hey, like, maybe call a therapist,"
Yeah.
or, "Hey," it was just like,
Yeah.
"Hey, take this
Mm-hmm.
and don't do anything dumb."
And don't do anything dumb. Yes.
Which is
Yes.
fine. Like, the
Right.
medicine did help.
Yes, it does help.
But
Yeah.
nobody was prepared to
Yeah.
help on that
To
part.
help on that part. Yeah. Yeah. And I hear that over and over. And that's really what was going on because I'm an Enneagram 9.
Yes.
So I followed you on social media for a long time before I decided to reach out because it's
Yeah.
just what we do.
Yeah.
But when I saw the Evolve event, and I remember I walked in the hotel where it was, and you had a sign there that said, "You're responsible for the energy that you bring into this room." I was just shy of 2 years postpartum at that point. My son was almost 2, but I was like, "Oh, well, I can't go in here." Because speaking of the reaction your doctor had, I was like, because my energy is like, we're in the tank here. So, but I did go in, and I'm so glad because it's led to so many wonderful things since
Yeah.
then. Yes.
And I think it's so interesting, especially women do this a lot, where they like you feel internally one way, but you project a different way.
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
it's funny that you say that. Not funny.
Yes.
It's
I
not
know what you
funny,
mean, though.
but
Yeah.
there's so many people who do come into the room at
Mhm.
Evolve
Yeah.
and are like, I don't have the energy. I don't feel
Mhm.
good, but still bring almost this aura of who you
Yeah.
are, you could be.
Who I could be. Yes.
Yeah, as
Yes.
long as you can just get your butt
Mhm.
in the room.
Yes. Yes.
I love
Get
it.
your butt in the room.
Get
Yeah.
your butt in the
Yeah.
room.
And I was really glad with that I followed. It was one of my fellow clinicians. She said, you have to start thinking outside of the box. We were just talking about business stuff in general because I had also opened my practice about a year and a half before
Mm.
this time. She was like, you got to think outside the box in terms of who helps you and who helps you generate ideas and all of that. So after Evolve, and I saw Tamika and heard everybody that was there and heard her talk, I was like, okay, she is not a therapist. She's not a counselor. She's not in the counseling world. And I really felt like I could benefit. And I know now definitely
Yeah.
that I could benefit from a lot of the business stuff. But what really caught me off guard was how much I learned about myself. Like
Mm.
I figured I would learn how to build a business and be successful and how to put boundaries in place. And I learned all of those things. But I learned more about myself in
Mm.
that process
What
than anything.
what do you think? Because that's one of the I love that you said that.
Yeah.
That is
It
unprompted.
is unprompted.
Because I did a presentation last week
Mhm,
and it was to leaders and I was supposed to
mhm,
talk about leadership and I had
mhm.
the whole leadership plan.
Yes,
Y'all know
yes,
I taught leadership for
yes.
many years and I had the whole, textbook thing and somebody
Yeah.
said something and I was like, "Well, textbook's out the window. Now we're
Yes,
talking about you."
yes,
And she
yes.
just stared at me
Mhm,
and the fundamentally one of the most important parts of business, one of the most
mhm.
important parts of life is you. So
Yes,
what do you think was your it doesn't even have to be your biggest, but
right.
what was your progression in that of
Mhm.
like the discovery of you and how that changed
Yes.
everything?
One of the biggest things, and again, that's why just reflecting on it, why I'm so glad I did it. One of the biggest things,
Yeah.
seriously, you had me start writing down what I'm grateful for.
Mm,
And it's like, I have the highest degree in my field possible, yet I had not ever stopped to consider what am I grateful for
mm,
in this. And I
mhm,
did it in the morning and at night. And I wrote it down, pen and paper, because your brain processes it differently when you write with pen and paper.
mhm.
That's one of the biggest takeaways. And honestly, I still use that with a lot of my clients. It's like,
Good.
are you paying attention to what you're grateful for? Because it really does lead to a mindset shift. I know you know that it
Mhm.
leads to a mindset shift where, despite all of the craziness that's going on, when you can pause and consider what you're grateful for, it helps you be intentional in the moment, but then it also can help you think and have vision for the future. Like, if I'm
Yes.
grateful for this now, what might happen?
Ooh.
What might happen in the future? And another thing, I wanted to tell you this today specifically
Yeah.
because she Tamika believes in people when, like, I didn't believe in myself. Like, I was running a pretty successful business and doing all of the things and putting myself out there, but I really did not believe in myself at that
Mm,
point. And so I really got the impression multiple times, you believe in people
mm,
when we don't believe in
mhm.
ourselves. And there's something about that that is just so integral to what you do and how I started healing and seeing my own potential
Yeah.
in that.
Your own worth.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, that yeah, you can borrow my belief until you
Mhm.
believe in yourself.
Yes. Yes,
And
she
it
does.
is, it's fundamentally different
Mhm.
when it's somebody, because we all have people who believe in us,
Yes,
right?
we do.
We have spouses and kids and parents and all of
Mhm.
these things.
Yeah.
But majority of the people who believe in us have either an emotional or financial tie to us.
Yes. Yes. Mhm.
And there's expectations that's linked with that.
Right.
And whether it's subconscious or it's made known, like there's expectations, and there's just something different
Mhm.
about having someone to believe in you
Yes.
who who isn't tied to that at all.
Mhm. Who is not tied. Yeah.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
Back to the gratitude. I love that you said that,
Mhm.
because it's so
Yeah.
funny. I was just at a meeting with another one of my past clients,
Mhm.
and we were talking, I've got weird family things happening in my life. We'll do a
Yes.
whole podcast about that later. But she looked at me and she goes, "Okay, but have you written down what you're grateful for yet today?" And I went,
Yes.
"No." And
No.
she goes, "Tell me what you're grateful for." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Well, right now I'm jumping up and down on crispy leaves, and that
Yes.
feels great."
That feels great.
It
Yes.
feels so good.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you
Mhm.
said that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Another one's the water. My water's outside of the frame,
Yeah.
but anytime that I start to feel like irritated or just caught up and frustrated in the heat of the moment, I'm like, have I been drinking? Have I been drinking water today? Because our brains really do need that.
Yeah.
And then just permission to say no. That would probably be my
Oh.
third takeaway.
Mhm.
Like, we do not have to say yes to everything. Our productivity does not determine our worth.
Oh.
You can say no.
You can say
You
no.
can say no. And no can be a complete sentence.
Mm. No.
It's hard for Enneagram 9s just to say no. Like, we feel like we need to explain ourselves and take responsibility for the other person's feelings and all of that. But no can be a complete
No
sentence.
to be a complete
Mhm.
sentence. Those of
Yes.
you that haven't studied the Enneagram yet, 9s are the peacemakers.
We are the
Their
peacemakers.
core fear in
Yes.
life is rocking the boat.
Rocking the
So
boat. Yeah. So I've rocked the boat since
you
2022
have.
a few
But
times.
here's what's really cool is
Mhm.
that in rocking the boat,
Mhm.
especially in your field,
Yes.
you have rocked the boat on a
Mhm.
national level in your field.
Mhm.
And because you have done that,
Yes.
your impact in your
Mhm.
field has multiplied over and over and over again just by starting the conversation.
Yeah.
It's one of the things
Starting
I'm
the
so proud
conversation.
of you for,
Thank you.
is
Yes.
that, like the concept of studying counseling in a perinatal form
Mhm.
wasn't heavily talked about
Mm-mm.
2 years ago.
No.
And
No.
now it is something that shows up in the national conference. Like, that's
Yes.
huge.
Yes. Yes.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And that's the power of, looking outside of yourself.
Yes. Yes. Definitely looking outside of ourselves.
I do want to applaud you too, because there are so many people who are given trials
Mhm.
and are given tribulations
Yes.
and are like, why
You're preaching.
is this happening? Yeah, I'm
Yes.
preaching. Like, why is
Yes.
this happening
Yes.
to me?
Why
Why
is
is
this
it this?
happening?
Like, I can't believe this. I wanted this so badly. And then this is how, like, I'm repaid and all of
Mhm.
that. And you took those trials and tribulations and made sure that it ended with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I believe
Mhm.
that anything hard, strong,
Mhm.
terrible, whatever that has happened to us is
Yes.
done with the intent that you can do something with it, you can grow
Mhm.
from it
Right.
and change other people's lives, or you
Yes.
can be a curmudgeon.
Yeah. A curmudgeon. Yes.
A
Yeah.
curmudgeon.
Yes.
And you took the really hard first step.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had an episode a couple episodes ago called "Pick Up the Shovel,"
Yes.
and the shovel was annoying you. I think at the
It
point when
was
you
annoying.
when
Yes.
you walked into the
Yes.
evolve room, it was
Yes.
annoying you.
Yes. Yes. And I didn't want to use it as a shovel. I wanted to use it to hit things. If we're completely honest at the time, I didn't understand, like, what do I need to dig out with this instead of react?
Like, I would just rather burn everything
Yeah.
down than
Yeah. Burn it down.
burn it
Mhm.
down. And you did the hard work. You took the first
Mhm.
step, and
Yeah.
now because of it, there's so many women's lives who have changed, and it's
Yeah.
just the beginning.
I hope so.
It's just the
I
beginning.
hope so.
It is.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so many, and that's the thing too. When I sat and talked with you, it was just so big.
Mhm.
There was so much work, and there were so many. I mean, we've done work together too with the GCS Moms
Yes.
League,
Yes, with the Moms League. They're
and
wonderful.
they are so
Yeah.
wonderful, and
Yes.
just getting the opportunity to change the lives of
Mhm.
people.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was really what I didn't know at the time. I mean, I knew that I wanted to do the clinical work, obviously,
Yeah.
but I didn't know that it would be an offshoot of it, to just in having conversations that just trying to normalize it a little bit. Like if you're struggling, you're not alone.
Yeah.
And if you go around the table with everybody you're sitting with and share your experiences, chances are, somebody else is going to have felt something very, very similar. So
Oh.
let's normalize it a little bit. And so if I have helped initiate that in any way, that even if you don't ever go to counseling,
Yeah.
at least like there's resources available, there's support available, you're not alone, there's people in the community you can talk to, there's just preventing isolation, going to some of the mom league stuff, or we live in an area where there's so much that you can be involved in, which is really, really good. But just having that conversation and creating the space where, hey, you might not ever talk to me as my client, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But there's so many, there are other options available, and just mainly knowing you're not alone when you're
Yes.
hurting.
Oh,
You are not
because
alone.
you are not alone. You're not so special that you're the only person this is happening to.
Yes.
And it sucks while it's happening.
It does suck while it's happening. It does. It does so much.
But it's starting the conversation,
Mhm.
opening up the door for that conversation. Well, I'm so very proud of you. I'm proud of the people and the women that you get to help and the students you get to change.
I know. I love the students.
Oh.
Yeah. I love the women too, but I also love the students, because they'll be the ones that, come along behind and do this work after I've retired or moved on to something else.
Yeah, they're your ripples in the water.
They
That's
are.
one of the things you have to always be looking for, is like, who is it? What, just like you said, what conversation am I going to have today that's going to change somebody else, who's going to change somebody else?
Yes.
The greatest work we can do is all of the people we're helping without even knowing we're doing it.
I love that. Ripples in the water. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So I'm so very proud of you.
Thank you.
And I'm proud to, and so pleased that I get to do life with you. I know that I've had the opportunity to send clients to you and friends to you, and then also to call and be like, what do I do?
I do. Yes.
Where do I go?
Where do
How
I
do
go?
I send this person, and what do we do? And so it is just, it is just a pleasure to be able to do this. And y'all, I wish I would have thought about this today, but I have a great shirt that's bright yellow that I got from our friend Sarah. It says "Go to therapy" on it, and it's not as too taboo as it used to be for our moms and the moms before us. But if you are looking for resources, we can drop some resources too. But you are not alone, and there's wonderful therapists out there.
Yes.
Dr. Olivia is great too. If you are in the need, actually, I think her books are full right now, but you can get yourself on a waiting list. But
I will add to that. The thing is, one of the things that I've really prided myself on in terms of my business, also learned through the process of working with Tamika, is that even if I can't help you, if you email me, I respond. And it's actually a disclaimer on my website. Give me 3 to 5 days, but I do respond to everybody, because I hear that often. It's like I've reached out to like 12 people. You're the first one that's called me back, or you're the first one that's emailed me back. Just continuing to build that narrative that if you reach out for help, I may not be able to get you on my books right away, but there's going to be a list of other options. And here's some podcasts, and here's some books and Instagram accounts, just so that you have a place to begin. Even if I can't help right away.
And that's so wonderful, because it is true. There's a lot of people who don't respond. So, and that's what makes you.
I'm going to respond. Just give me 3 to 5 days.
So if you're looking for resources and you can't find it,
absolutely,
she's a good resource too. So, well, Dr. Olivia,
I'm
so proud of you. I'm so glad that you were here.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that you were here. Enneagram 9s, if you are here and you're listening, or you love an Enneagram 9, tell them to listen to this episode, because it's just very important. One of the best things you said, no is a complete sentence.
No is a complete sentence.
You can do anything you put your mind to. And so I'm so proud of you.
Can. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, y'all. I will see you next week. We'll have, I think, another guest next week, and more songs of the day, more learning, new narratives. Make sure you like, subscribe, download these episodes, share them with somebody who needs to hear them, as we get the word out to say more words, tell your story, know you're not alone. You're not lucky enough to be the only person it's happening to. You can find your community and your voice here. So we're so happy you're here. I hope you have a great day. We'll see you next week. Bye.